Let's begin, shall we? Hello and welcome. My name is Haylie, and I'm going to take you through today 5 ways Education City can support you. Now, this webinar is a little bit different to any of the webinars that I've done because I wanted to give you sort of those top 5 ways, those most important ways. I've actually consulted with a lot of my colleagues. Some of them will be your account managers, some of them will be customer service representatives, and they've given me sort of input into their 5 top tips. I've also consulted a couple of my teacher friends, sort of from back when I was teaching, and a couple of from sort of our hub schools or champion schools as well. So what we're going to be going over with, these have turned out to be our top 5. Those 5 ways that sort of we feel, our customers feel, my colleagues feel are the most important sort of aspects, if you like, of Education City that you need to know first and foremost. So number 1, we have groups, whether you're using groups of differentiation. And the following bit, I have to admit, I did magpie from one of my teacher friends for home learning house points or remote round robins. I do have to say that quite slowly because I do mess it up. But that's something that she uses at the moment. She has sort of mixed ability groups of students that are in houses, and they earn house points from sort of, being online at the right time sort of thing, engaging in the remote sessions, or having great discussions or great answers to questions or great questions themselves, things like that. And then she also uses it for sort of a remote round robin or carousel learning, if you will, sort of back like you would do in the classroom, where you've got one group doing one thing, one group doing another, one group doing something else. She uses the groups for that. So she'll have a group sort of interacting with her. She'll have a group working online through Education City. She'll have another group doing something else, and then another group maybe working on their Education City revision journal, something like that. I'll come to that a little bit later though. Number 2, with the tools for learning objectives. Again, after consulting with a couple of my teacher friends and a couple of customers, we do realise that you might have a TA or LSA, HLTA in school teaching sort of your key worker students, whilst as a teacher you might be at home doing the remote learning, or vice versa. So we wanted to sort of give you those sort of tools for learning objectives, where you can find those. And also leads me very nicely onto number 3, how you can use the My Cities on Education City for planning and being able to share those plans with your colleagues. So whether you're sort of you've got another teacher that you work with, or like I mentioned, TA, HLTA, that you want to share plans with, or that they can share plans with you, you can do that using Education City. Moving on from that, the progress checks. And again, I did magpie this from one of our hub schools. She describes our success tracker as a great for progress checks. Gives a rounded opinion of students whilst remote learning. Great quote that. But yeah, that's something that's going to be really important at the moment as well. And then keeping your students engaged. Like all of us, they might have days where they can get a bit bored or can't really be bothered with something. And it's all about how you can use Education City, amongst other things, to just keep your student engaged in their learning, sort of engaged with their peers as well. It's quite common at the moment for children to not feel not seen their friends for a while. So being able to sort of keep that engagement going, having that chat amongst the peers, and just having that sort of engaged fun, if you like. So we'll go into those now. As always, if you have any questions at any point, do ask those. I do look forward to your questions. You can use the Q&A button. You'll find that on your sort of start bar, if you like. Around the middle for me. If you click onto that, you can type in a question and it will appear live, so I can answer that immediately for you. Because all of these sessions are recorded and available to watch later on, there is an option there to type in your question anonymously if you wish to as well. So do check that out. We obviously do have the chat box, but just be aware that that doesn't ping up onto my screen. So I may not get around to your questions until the very end if you sort of type them into the chat feature. So the Q&A always best. Just before we head over to educationcity.com, do be aware as well, the account I'm going to show you is a made-up school. So the staff and students don't exist. So please don't worry about any GDPR issues. It is also an English account. So I will keep in mind if you're joining me today from sort of Scotland or anywhere else outside of England, I will point out the differences that you might see as we're going through. So I think that is just about everything. Here we go, educationcity.com. And here we are, there we go, logged in to my account. Now, if you're following along at home, if I click on the ribbon just there, your page might look like this. This is the classic view, nothing wrong with that. I just prefer the new view. So if you do wish to follow along with me, you click on the ribbon just there. Here it is. It's got a couple more features which are quite helpful, and I just prefer it. I think it's got a better flow to it as well. So number one, groups. Let's start with that and head it over to the manage users area. There it is just there. I'm going to skip right over to that end tab, that groups tab right on the end there, that right hand side. And you can see I already started setting a couple of groups up. So these might be for my home learning house points. There they are just there. And you can see you can obviously sort of ask your students to come up with a theme, maybe entirely up to you. You can see I've already started to create a round robin group. So this is group A. And I've got a couple of notes in there. So this is my higher ability pupils. So if I am doing it differentiated sort of round robin, I've got that there. Or I've got my house groups for those mixed ability groups, if you will. So actions. That will enable you to print the logins for a group or to delete a group. But what we're going to do, we're going to head into add group just here. There we are. I'm going to start with the group name. So because everything gets listed alphabetically, it's always worthwhile popping in your year group, your class name, or your initials, or a combination of the above, because then your groups will become easily recognizable. Then you can type in the group name. So this might be my round robin group. So we're going to put round robin group. This might be group B. I had group A, this might be my group B. We do have the notes function over here. Only educators who are logged into Education City in your school will see those notes. So students and parents won't see them. So this might be your, I don't know, higher ability pupils maybe. Obviously you can type in those notes as you will. And obviously this sort of thing would be great with students currently remote learning. You can have different groups with different subject areas, different units of work, whatever you wish to. There we go, just that. So the benefit of the groups is that because students can only belong to one class, groups, they can belong to as many groups as you can possibly think of. And there isn't a limit as to how many groups you can have, although I do recommend a spring clean in the summer term. There we go. And now you can search for students individually by their name, but if you do want to look for the students in your class, type in your class name, search, and you can see those students will appear. Now we can hover over just there to see what groups our students are already in. So if I head down here to Evie May just there, you can see that says at the bottom, round robin group A. So I don't want her in group B because that would sort of contradict a little bit. So instead we can go through and we can select some of the other students maybe. Obviously, you would do this in a little bit more detail. I'm just randomly selecting some students just here. There we go. And When you're happy with your selection, you can move them over. So you can see here, students in this group, there they all are. And if you do need to update and edit your groups, it's really, really simple. All you need to do, click in the box of the child you wish to remove from the group and remove, and same goes. And you can keep updating that throughout the academic year if you wish to. So really, really handy because it's sort of preset. You've got those in there when you first create them, but then you can remove students, you can add new students in, you can change the name, you can change the notes if you want to. You can really sort of begin to update and sort of take control of those different groups for those different purposes. Now that that's done, I'm just going to click save. There we go. And if I head down just here, we should now have round robin group A and round robin group B. If I've accidentally put my higher ability pupils in here, no bother, I can go back in, change that to maybe my middle ability pupils or give it a different name, or if I've just made an innocent error, change it, make sure you save those changes. And you can see now that has been updated. So you can really sort of begin to edit. Those grouping functions do get so handy, whether you're looking for differentiation or if you are sort of planning on doing home learning houses, as I mentioned, remote round robin or carousel learning, or for any other uses you can think of to separate your remote learners from your key learners. Whatever you can think of, you can use this for. There we go. Back to the home page. I'm just going to check we've got no more questions at the moment. Okay, excellent. And I'm going to move on now to number 2, which are the tools for learning objectives. That would be in our curriculum map just here. Now, as you may already be aware, everything on EducationCity is mapped to the curriculum that you follow. So if you're in Scotland, it will be mapped to the Curriculum for Excellence. If you're in England, it will be mapped to the National Curriculum 2014. Whatever curriculum you follow, this is where you will find the tools that meet those objectives. So let's head into maths just down the middle there. You can see automatically what curriculum you follow on the left-hand side. And then this is really, really simply a case of finding your child's year group, your student's year group, or peer level, whatever sort of the name of that particular group of students. You can find the units. So let's just go for multiplication and division as an example. Find the objective that you're looking to meet, and you will see all of the resources below that fulfill that one objective. There's quite a few there. As with a lot of things on EducationCity, it's all color-coded for you. So you've got your videos in orange, your activities are in dark blue, activity sheets are in a lighter shade of blue. You've got games in purple, think it's in red. Scrolling down a little bit further, what else can we see? There we go. Learn screens are in that pinky colour. I believe topic tools are green, but it really begins to sort of show you those vast amount of resources that we have. And obviously really, really simple to pick out what you need. We do have the filter down this left-hand side. So if you are just looking for activities, for example, you can do that straight off. But also really, really handily, if you've got any students who are remote learning who need printables, maybe they don't have access to EducationCity online, you can filter through those printables just there and just see any of those that are available to you. There we go. Now, as always, next to these, you've got that orange plus sign, which means that you can add tools into a My City folder of work. So you can see anywhere you see that, you can click onto that, you can find a folder of work that you've been working on or create a new classwork, same for homework just there. Just make sure if you do click onto one of them, it turns into a green tick before you save. There we go. So this is really, really handy if you do have HLTAs doing any planning. You've got that there. It's really, really straightforward. They know the resources that fulfill those particular objectives, those requirements, and it's all done automatically there for you. Heading back onto the homepage, I'm just going to check again. We've got no more questions. No, not at the moment. And we're going to head into the My City area. So you can see just here, there they are, just there, My Cities. And you can see they've split just there into classwork and homework. Doesn't matter which one you use, doesn't matter when you use them. Students do have access to both all of the time. So you could always split this up into, you know, between the hours of 9 and 3, anytime, you know, afterwards. It's entirely up to you. So this takes me to number 3, which is being able to plan and share your planning with colleagues. Heading into that My City just there, you can see you've got a bit of a summary, and you'll find that across Education City. And you can see I've already started creating that sort of test folder, just sort of an example for you. Now you can obviously create a new classwork just here, obviously give the title and then create. Same in the homework files just there if you wish to do that. But I'm just going to carry on working on my test folder for the time being. So I popped a game in there. I can pop other things in. There are different ways that you can find these resources. And I'm going to type in the word games. We can filter by the subject as well as by the year group just there. And obviously those different tool types. And I'm just going to pop in, instead of the Play Live, I'm going to pop in one of our new whack-a-mole games just there. Let's pop that one in. There we go. Now let's say I've created a folder of work for planning. I'm just going to save those changes and head back along this breadcrumb trail. So you can see I've already started creating a couple of folders for my most recent subject, which is the Secret Garden. You can create these folders, these planning folders, and then what you can do is select the box next to the one you want to sort of make a copy of. See, that's ticked. Head over to Actions and create a copy. And what that will do is it will create that exact copy with the exact resources in there, same logo, same color, anything like that. It will all stay the same. What you can do though is decide if you want it in classwork or homework, and you could decide to retain the content and the students that it's allocated to. Now then, if I just click onto OK for a moment, it will take you into that folder, but what we're going to do is we're just going to head back into the My City area. You can see I've got my original here and that copy. Now, if you do decide to retain the students and then you create this copy to give to, say, a year partner or TA, HLTA, or vice versa, just be aware that although they can see the students that you've allocated to, they won't be able to track the students' progress. So it's always worthwhile remembering that, because then you can choose, you know, if you're the one that does all the maths and your partner does all the English or numeracy and literacy, what you can do is you can decide to have one person maybe submits to all of the students in year 4, for example, for numeracy, the other one do literacy, and then you track your subjects. Alternatively, if you just if you just share here and set for your class only, your year partner or the person that receives this can then set what you've already popped in there for their class. I hope that makes sense. So either you set for English, I set for maths, and then the person who's set for that subject tracks all students in the year, or you create the copy, year partner gives to her class, I give to my class, and we both track our classes individually. Hope that makes a little bit of sense. So how do you give this folder to your year partner? Really, really easily. Select the box like we did with that copy, select just there, Actions, and allocate. There we go. So same way we created the copy, we're going to create that copy, we're going to allocate it, and you'll get a list of staff who have that Education City login will appear, And then you just find that person you wish to have. So I'm going to have Margaret have this and allocate. So Margaret has now been allocated that folder of work. If I now refresh my page, you can see that folder of work has gone out of my folder and it's now in hers. So you can share planning back and forth. You can share with sort of TA, HLTA, they can share with you what they're doing with intervention groups, focus groups, for example. Really, really easy and really, really simple to do. Simple way of being able to sort of share what you're not in sort of in school, so you might not be in school, you might not be having those PPA sessions like you would, and being able to sort of share in sort of that close contact. So this is a really simple sort of alternative, if you will. While we are on the My Cities, if I just head into this test folder, don't forget that you can sort of always edit sort of comments, title just there. You can change the colour. I've just gone for Leicester City Blue. There we go. Don't forget then to work your way across sort of allocating to students. This is where the groups function comes in really handy, because we can find that group that we're looking to allocate towards. So we've got, here we go, round robin group A, round robin group B, or I've got all of my houses just here. And what I can do is I can select those just there. I can always remove or add an individual here. I'm not changing that group in any way, shape or form. I'm just slightly tweaking if you need to do so. And then just work your way through. You've obviously got the preferences there, and then being able to track who's done what. So My Cities were our number 3. And if you're on this view with me, don't forget as well, you've got the work overview new tool just here. This enables you to find a folder of work. So for example, that one that I've just set, we can click on that. And again, you'll have a really clear color-coded system as to who's done what. You can always click to see more detail, which will open up the folder of work for you. Now then, has anybody got any questions on the My Cities or sharing the My Cities at all? Don't forget, as with the groups, there is a limitless amount of time you can create a copy of a My City as well. So if you wanted to pop a load of work in one My City and then create copies and edit it for different groups, you can always do that as well. So you don't necessarily have to create a copy for a year partner. You can have different copies for yourself. Excellent. Okay, so the next one we've got is the progress checks. At the moment, with sort of students being at home, you may not have been able to do sort of regular progress checks with them. As all of our assessments and activities are marked on EducationCity automatically, what you can do though is use the success tracker to see where your students are at. And that's sort of just here, you can see the little pink icon just there. What this enables you to do is to select a date. So this could be during lockdown, it could be for a term, a half term, for example. I'm just going to select a random date. There we go. There we are. And what this will do is within the success tracker, it will show you all completed assessments or activities that a student has completed or a class has completed between those timeframes that you've set. Now we can sort of change that, so we can go surname first. So if we wanted register order, for example, and we can have a look through really, really simply, work our way through to see that information. Now, really handily, you can see just here that this one has been partially completed. That is because our assessments now come with a bookmark feature. So a child can pop a bookmark in and come back and complete it at a later date. But Henry, in this case, he didn't come back and complete it, so it's only partially completed. Now, any assessments that we've got here, we can click onto those. We can have a look at the answers a child gave. scroll through just there. We can have a look at the incorrectly answered ones as well as the ones that weren't attempted. And we can even have a look at that revision journal that the computer has created. For those of you who aren't aware, any formative or unit assessments, the system creates a revision journal for students. And what that is kind of like a folder of prescribed work based upon the answers that they got incorrect or the answers that they missed. So, for example, this particular child should have things about sort of number sentences in here. If we head into the revision journal, you can see we've got fractions, arrays, things like that, comparing, converting, units of measure, and the commutative law, which was to do with those number sentences. So really, really handy that. If I head back into the success tracker, again, I'm just going to select a random date. I should have gone back along the breadcrumb trail, really. Forgot to do that. There we go. What you can also do is you can edit the columns that you have. So if you do just want to have a look at maybe you're not bothered about when it was completed or the date that they saved it or the title of it, for example, but maybe you do want to have a look at any curriculum objectives that have been met by any activities, the questions that they attempted, questions that they had available. So that will give you a good comparison there as well. You can even have a look at the groups that they're a part of, the gender, date of birth. For example, if you're looking to do comparative data with that, that's really handy. And if we click on OK, you can see that's changed for us. And we can scroll down here. Any assessments will just say the subject area, but these activities will give you those objectives that have been met. Nice thing is if we click onto one of these again as well, we can have a look here. We can sort of work our way through and see the questions that the child got. Now it does look like he got to number 9 and maybe didn't really bother with the rest of them. Not a problem. We can always add it to another MyCity and resubmit it to Henry there as well. Now, Henry will also have on his scores on his login page the opportunity to have another go at this. So if he does do that and you've got that data there, you can always print him a certificate as well. There we go. As I mentioned, all of this data you can export to an Excel spreadsheet for whatever you wish to do with it, essentially. But you can see here how this is going to be great for those progress checks. If you're looking for those particular dates, any work that you've set, whether activity or assessment, as long as the students complete it whilst they're logged in, scores get saved. Really, really handy and really, really useful way of sort of keeping track, classes, groups or individuals. And if we may be doing, I don't know, virtual parents meetings in the future, you can just look for an individual pupil. And obviously you can share this information with parents as well. Any questions on the success tracker there? Just having a quick look at both the Q&A and the chat feature. No questions just yet, not a problem. Let's head back to the homepage. And our final one, keeping students engaged. We like to think EducationCity is engaging as it is, but there is the chance that pupils might get a little bit bored doing their work. So don't forget, you can mix it up a bit. Students do have their revision journals that they can do sort of independently. You can always use one of our think kits as an investigation, or there's some really good debate ones on there. So do have a look at those think kits within either the subjects area, the search content, or the curriculum area just there, the curriculum map. Don't forget as well, we've got a fantastic range of games. Not just our Play Live Now, but also our Whack-A-Mole games, which are so engaging, but they are really educational as well. These ones, absolutely brilliant. It's the sort of thing as well you could pop on at the end of a lesson and maybe get students to shout out the answers. So in this one, for example, we're looking at end punctuation. You can click onto those tools, but be warned, if you click on an incorrect one, you lose points. There we go. You can see how this is a lot of fun. There we are. And, you know, it's sort of thing, you get the score at the end, you can compare scores, you can start maybe, I don't know, like a championship in sort of a virtual championship, who gets the best score, who gets the highest score. And with something like the Play Live, because obviously students can compete against each other, don't be afraid to log in during the lesson. Log in, ask your children to log in and compete against them. If you're anything like me, I'm rubbish at Play Lives. It gives you a good bit of practice, and there's always that sort of confidence boost, morale boost when a child beats their teacher. So do check those out. Check out all the games we've got for literacy and numeracy, or English and maths. And again, have a look for championships. We've got some great ones for sort of multiplication tables. Or factor pairs, I believe there are factor pairs and multiples. So again, do check those out. They are a lot of fun, they're engaging, but they're also educational. And like I mentioned earlier, those think it's as well, have a look at those because they are so useful. So those are my 5 ways of Education City can support you. 5 ways that have been supported by my colleagues here at Education City, my teacher friends, as well as a couple of our hub school or champion school teachers there as well. Just to refresh, the groups function doesn't necessarily have to be for sort of ability groups. You could use it for home learning houses or remote round robins. Feel free to magpie that from me, as I magpied it from my teacher friend. And then we've got the tools for the learning objectives, remember, in the curriculum map. Really handy if you're in NQT, for example, planning for a year group, you can use that. It's so valuable, but also for any sort of TAs or HLTAs that are planning against an objective, or maybe for any gaps in learning, as well as for key worker students, they can always use that as well. Those My Cities, you can use those for planning, you can use those for setting work for children. You can also create copies of anything in there and do with it what you will. If you want to create different copies for differentiation, you can do so, maybe for some remote round robin. But you can also create those copies to give to other staff members, whether they're your year partners or whether they're sort of HLTAs or TAs, LSAs, or one-to-one support. You do have the progress checker, as I'm now calling it. Again, magpied that. The success checker just there, being able to track where your children are at the moment is really important. And as I said earlier, that great quote, this gives a rounded opinion of students whilst they are remote learning. So do check that out. And remember, you can export it to an Excel if need be. Finally, keeping it engaged, check out the games, check out the Think It's, have a play with them. Nobody said learning had to be boring, so have a play with it all. And don't be afraid to let children beat you. It's a fantastic morale boost, if not for you, for them. There we go. Has anybody got any questions on any of that, or on anything else for that matter? Just checking those through. None at the moment. I'll keep checking for a second. If you think of any questions later on, or any queries that you might have, any feedback, or any success stories as well, we do love to hear success stories, or how you use any of the items I've talked about today in particular ways. Do let us know. We're always willing to learn from our teacher friends. You can use that email there, customerservice@educationcity.com. That's customerservice@educationcity.com. And you can even make it for the attention of Haylie if you wish to, so it comes to me. I do hope this has been beneficial to you. I do hope you've taken at least one thing out of today's webinar. Like I said, do get in touch if I can help with anything else. I look forward to seeing you at future webinars. But until then, take care and stay safe. Bye-bye.